Just when you thought it was over, we're back with the collection tour part 2. More displays, a Q&A, a how-to, and a surprise or two.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Now we're diving into some NECA Ninja Turtles, Super 7 Ninja Turtles, and Playmates Ninja Turtles, the turtle corner of the basement here. So I talked about Playmates, even the new and old Playmates going on here. So a little bit of a miscellaneous turtle collection there. Same thing down into here. Down to the Savage Dragon. I love the Savage Dragon in the 90s. They had the Turtles crossover figures, amazing. A little spillage here with Crocker, and of course a Triceraton. Down to a little bit of Simpsons. Down to the NECA dinosaurs, over to the Simpsons, which will be getting a bigger shelf in the future. Now diving into some of the Archie wrestling turtles, the Gorilla. Glow in the Dark, you know I love the glow in the dark stuff. Glow in the Dark Super 7. And then the rest of this shelf here is Super 7, Super 7. Into some Archie comics and some Super 7. Even a little Toxie-Troma. Got Bebop Rocksteady ready for Easter. Movie Turtles looking very good over here, of course. Turtles 3. Down to some Batman Turtle crossover. Down to the Rockstar Turtles looking good. Universal Monster Tours Turtles. Not for everybody, but definitely for me with my Universal love. Got the colored editions and the black and white editions. And then down into the Turtles Power Ranger crossover. And then King and Krodos and the Turtle Van there. Alf and E.T., just some aliens hanging out. Good to see them together. Playmates Turtle Vans, tale of 2 years, I guess, or 2 separate decades, looking good. And then we're getting into the last Ronin Turtles, Mirage Turtles from NECA, a lot of turtle lines, of course. Then into the movie Turtles, Turtles 1, Turtles 2, got all those bad boys hanging out. Then at the very top, some spillover, a little Playmates in the corner, the sketch editions, and some spillover NECA cartoon turtles. Which then moves us over into the big diorama here with the NECA cartoon street scenes. Got 2 different cartoon street scenes here with all the characters. Down into, of course, the sewer layer from NECA and Donatello's lab from NECA. So a lot going on there. Down into the street scenes, the more uniform, all-encompassing street scenes here. Got some dioramas kind of built out. Got a phone, all kinds of stuff. And then down to the bottom, just some ones I made. Cardboard backdrops looking good. Always like that spill over here. And this is actually a Kallax unit. A lot of people ask what this is. It is an IKEA Kallax, and I just didn't put the shelves in the middle here. It's just straight up how it's supposed to be without the shelves. So fits perfectly with 2 of those street scenes looking good there. So quite the NECA turtle setup. Almost forgot the NECA turtle van down there as well. So got all kinds of stuff. That cartoon collection. I feel like it's kind of getting towards the end. We'll see where it goes in the future. What is up, everybody? Kyle here, back again, part of the Collection Extravaganza Collection Part 2. Hopefully, you checked out Part 1 of my collection tour. We're calling it for 2025. We'll see the next time we do it. Maybe 2026, maybe 2027, maybe never again. We'll see what happens there. But this is Part 2. We got more displays to show. Yes, they weren't all in Part 1. We got Part 2. Gonna have a little bit of a Q&A kind of session. A lot of questions I get about my collection. I'm going to answer them in this video. If you guys wanted to try to copy anything I'm doing, I'm going to give you all the tools to the tool shed, the keys to the kingdom, however you want to say it there. And in this video, we'll also show, like I said, some more displays, but also a couple of how-tos and some surprises as well. How did I build that Masters of the Universe table? All will be answered in this very video. So a companion piece to Part 1. Once again, check out Part 1 if you missed it. And of course, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. You guys know Matt Cardona was at my house a few weeks back. He will be having a video as well over on the Major Pod, so you can see a different angle of my collection if that is your thing as well. Probably a little bit faster video than these, but 2 different tours of my collection here as we close out 2024 and move into 2025, which should be another year of collecting and YouTube videos. So thanks everybody for your support there. But figured I'd dive in to some of the questions I get about my collection a lot. I did this way back in the day. gonna do it again here for the new viewers and new people, and updated video. Might as well do that here. So let's dive into the questions I always do get, and probably already in the videos as well. We're going to dive into those right now. And the first one I get all the time is, how do I keep my collection clean? How often do I have to dust? And even one smart Mark Sterling over on the Major Pod, he even talked about it on their podcast a couple of weeks ago. He was asking Matt, is Kyle's collection all dusty? How does he keep the dust out? And Matt was smart enough to tell him, there's no dust. There's no dust in his collection. It's good. Now, is there dust? Occasionally. Now, I've had this collection built out like this for maybe about a decade now, and I've dusted one time in that 10 years. Yes, one time. So how do I keep this dust free? Well, there's a lot of ways to keep things dust free and clean in your collection. Now, first thing I got to tell you guys is I have a brand new, I guess newer HVAC system, a top of the line HVAC system. Obviously the air conditioner, the heater, all that kind of stuff. Well, if you live in an older house that is an older HVAC system, it's not going to be quite up to the quality, circulating the air, keeping things clean, that kind of stuff. So I have a top of the line system there. I also live in a newer house. Obviously this house, 20 years old, something like that, whatever it is. So this house isn't super old. There's people that live in houses that are 100 years old. Well, 100-year-old house, guess what? There's cracks, there's way things get in, different sunlight. It's just a different house. It's an older house based on those standards. This is a lot more modern and updated. Now, this house might be, let's just call it 20 years old. Well, this basement where the 99% of my collection is stored is much newer than that, as I did design this basement to my specifications, how I wanted the layout to be for my collection. So not everybody has that luck. Not everybody has the capability of doing that. A lot of people buy a house, an apartment, or whatever. You're stuck to what the walls are. I designed the walls. I designed the rooms. So that helps out as well. Now, one of the worst things for your collection, sunlight. Sunlight on your figures, obviously wears your figures down, changes the colors on the figures, but also helps bring in more dust, things like that. Well, I am in a basement. There is very few ways for the light to get into the basement, and they are all covered in my basement. So I have to have lights to have any kind of light down here. Well, sunlight is what's going to ruin, that's going to cause more dust. I don't have that issue down here. So you got to remember that kind of stuff. I also have dogs. You guys have seen Lemmy, Domino, and Ace on the channel. They do not shed. So that's another thing. If you have dogs that don't shed, guess what? You're not going to have dog hair going all over the place. You're not going to have it all over the place as well. So little things like that. But I got to tell you, the HVAC system is a huge, huge deal. You got to have a good HVAC system. That keeps everything circulating, keeps everything clean and dust-free. Now, like I said, I've had to dust maybe one time. There is very little dust. Yes, there's going to be dust from time to time, but very little. I know some people that have to dust their collection like a couple times a year. I don't have that, and that doesn't matter if it's in these detolfs or out on the bookshelves. It's just not a dusty environment. So it's really, how's your environment? How's the traffic in and out? Long way to get there, but that's the way it goes. That's the dusting issue. That seems to be the number one question I get is, how often do you have to dust? And like I said, once or twice in the last decade, that's it. So it's not as complicated as it maybe does seem. Like I said there. Now, I will say IKEA detolfs, and I'm going to walk through the collection what I use. These are IKEA detolfs behind me, available at IKEA once upon a time. Now, I guess Facebook Marketplace, places like that, garage sales, as for whatever reason, IKEA did discontinue the detolfs. A lot of people say, what are you going to do with no more detolfs? Well, if I really needed a detolf, I think I could nag one on Marketplace or somewhere. They're still pretty readily available. They were sold in pretty good quantities, so there's always an opportunity to grab these if I need to. But as of right now, I don't need any more. Possibly one. I guess if I came across one or somebody gifted me one, I could take it, and I have a spot, I could use it. But I don't feel like I need a spot for another detolf quite yet. Looking at things, if Mattel continues on the trajectory they're at for Elites right now, I think I have about 3 years worth of room just moving things around. I have a few of these cubes that are not really being used right now, so I got room to grow into those. So I still have room to grow. I also have the tops of all these that I could use for Elites in the future. So we'll stay tuned to that, future plan and future Kyle problems, I guess, there. But I still got room. I also have plans for maybe an expansion. You never know. We'll see. We'll do a lot of videos on that if that comes in the next couple of years. But I got ideas to grow my collection, and there's always going to be ebbs and flows of a collection. So hard to say goodbyes, things like that, where you're not feeling a collection, you get rid of it, and guess what? That frees up more space for things you are. So there's always going to be, like anybody's collection, the ebbs and flow of the collection. But starting it off is the IKEA detolfs. Now, I do take an extra step there as I do line the detolf on the outside with a little kind of, it's like a window seal trim around there to keep just any extra dust or anything out, just extra layer of protection. And one thing I've said all the time, especially in the infancy of the channel, when I first walked through my collections and stuff, I always said, do it right the first time or don't do it at all. Say, you know, I really want detolfs, but I'm going to settle for this. And then you end up not being happy with your collection, the way you have it displayed, and then you have to go and buy the detolfs. You just spent more money. So that was one thing that went into my mind when I built my collection. I had a plan. Work your plan, know your plan, stick to your plan. Whatever your goal is, stick to it. Don't derail it. Don't do something else, because all you're going to have is regrets, which equals more money out the window you could have been spending for action figures. So I wanted to put that out there as well. But I do got the IKEA detolfs. A lot of people say, Kyle, what risers do you use inside there? I'm a stickler. I'm old school. I use the Small Joe's risers. You can go to smalljoes.com. They have risers over there. Now, the one thing about that is they are fairly expensive, but they are made specifically for the detolfs. A lot of people will use spice racks and stuff, and it's your collection. Do what you want. But I feel like if you're inside a detolf, you got to use a clear spice rack, a clear rack for these guys, because if you don't, nobody wants a white Copco rack sticking in there. It's just not appealing to the eye. So once again, do it right or don't do it at all. I made the investment in my collection to buy the Small Joe's risers, and it was very expensive. I pieced it together as I went. I didn't buy them all at once. That does save it. And I guess that does lead getting off. A lot of people say, Kyle, I can't believe you got this. Like, this didn't happen overnight. I'm a lifelong collector going back to my childhood. This wasn't all bought yesterday, all in one fell swoop. And of course, Kyle, what do you do for a living? You must be a millionaire or whatever. You know, I'm a song and dance man at the end of the day. You guys know that's my profession. I'm a song and dance man. I'm doing dances on the side of the street, doing songs. Talked about it recently, working on a song, 2099, for the upcoming 2099 celebration with a good friend of the channel, Jeff George. We'll get that out there. That'll probably pay off the house and everything else. We'll see what happens there. But I'm a song and dance man at the end of the day. But this collection didn't happen overnight. This is a lot of years of in the grind of collecting and the enjoyment of collecting. So you got to remember that as well. A lot of people say, Kyle, your detolfs are up off the ground. I think there is nothing cleaner than a detolf off the ground. I get it. Some people like to put them on the floor, but if they're on the floor, people are running around, walking around, you know, they might fall. You might jiggle the cases a little bit. I have these on Kallax displays, once again from IKEA, and a lot of people say, Kyle, I don't see Kallax like this at IKEA. Well, the inserts, the doors there, those are the door inserts. You have to buy those separately at IKEA. So I have those throughout the bottom, raises them up off of the ground, gets them, makes them more clean, makes it when people walk by, things don't shift and fall over. You can probably imagine that. So it makes it a little bit more fancy. How about fancy? Is that a good word? But those are via IKEA, the Kallax and the Kallax door inserts. The beautiful thing about these Kallaxes is all the way around. If you don't put the door inserts in, you don't have to, but it gives a little extra support, making it a full box instead of 3 sides. But you could use that for display if you wanted to. I use it for card backs for things. I use it for the hands and heads and extra accessories we do with all the elites. So for the most part, I can say, okay, I need the elites for these. I'll go, here's the box of hands. And then, of course, all my hands, heads, and stuff are by series. I got a baggie of here's Elite 105, here's Elite 106. Throw them in a box. I just go through the baggies, find 105, 106, trade them out, and do whatever I want to do there. But gives a lot of storage around here, of course. Now, diving into some other things. So the Kallax unit there, diving into the Ninja Turtles collection. Kallax, a big Kallax there where I removed some of the pieces to make the street scenes fit inside there. So once again, it's using IKEA, which is for the most part pretty cheap. I don't have an IKEA around me. The closest IKEA is a 7-hour round trip for me. I've made many adventures to IKEA over the years on my work travels for my day job. Luckily, I traveled pretty well for that day job, and I've traveled around picking those kind of things up. So I piecemealed a lot of this stuff together as well. It wasn't like I went to IKEA with a semi and said, give me 30 detolfs, I need 40 Billy bookcases. Didn't happen like that. It grew throughout the years, as you've seen in the progression of my action figure collection tour videos. So we got that going on. But I do have Kallax shelf for the main NECA turtle display, and then Billy bookcases. And Billy bookcases are the best bookcases. Once again, do it right the first time or don't do it at all. Maximize your space. No matter if you have a huge house or a little room, maximize your space. Billy bookcases, they're maybe a little bit more expensive than a Walmart Target case, but you get what you will pay for. You get an extra height on that one, you get extra shelves, and you get better quality. Trust me, I've bought a lot of those Walmart cases, things like that. We'll talk about it in a little bit here. That is definitely the way to go from IKEA. That is by far the Billy bookcase. That's why I say it's the #1 bookcase in the world. They say something like one is sold every minute or whatever the math is they always promote there. But That is what I use in those. So I use them for the turtles, but I also use them in that He-Man room. Line the walls in there, those are all Billy bookcases. Same thing upstairs where I got my Mondos and my Marvel Legends, all Billy bookcases. Keep them uniform, keep them all white. You can use the different colors if you want. For me, white is the way to go right there. I do enjoy the Billy bookcase. They go together, very simple, and there's always a need for those. I think they're very easy to resell compared to a Target, Walmart one where nobody's going to want to buy that because they are so cheap. Now, diving into that Masters of the Universe room once again, down below, those are bookshelves as well. However, I believe I bought all of those at Target. Now, why didn't you get the Billy bookcase ones? Well, I've talked before about that 7-hour drive. Also, the expense of those half IKEA Billys are a lot more expensive than the Walmart Target ones. I bought all of those when they were on sale for back to school at Target. Got to get a deal. You guys got to look around for that stuff. And I bought them all there, and the heights were different. You know, Walmart might have been this tall, Target this tall, IKEA this tall. So for the heights I wanted for that table, the Target ones fit best. That's the only reason I went to Target, outside of them being $30 a bookcase cheaper. So you got to get a deal out there. That worked perfectly for me. And then, of course, I use the inside around those bookcases as storage for boxes I want to keep. I don't keep all my boxes, but things like Mondo, things like Super 7, Turtle Vans, some of the higher end stuff, the Dragonflies World, I'm keeping those boxes. I'm not throwing those away. That's a perfect place to store all that stuff. And of course, you got the McFarlane stuff all on the outside of those bookcases. Now, the tabletop, of course, the Masters Universe, you're going to see in this very video how good friend of the channel, Midwest Professional Wrestling, Gage Octane, he helped me build that one. It was his idea. He knew exactly what to do. I had the vision. He had the tools and the plan. So you can see that in this very video, how we put that bad boy together. But the rest of that room, Billy bookcases, which leads to the lighting. A lot of people say, Kyle, how do you got that lighting inside those cases? They are, once again, from IKEA, Norfly lights. And I believe, I might be mistaken, I heard those were discontinued by IKEA. So we're seeing a pattern here, unfortunately. Discontinued by IKEA, but you can do a lot of different lighting systems from IKEA or other places. There's a lot of creative ways you can do light. That one worked best for me. I am not an electrician. I'm not a master of that kind of stuff. So that system worked really well for me. And I got those cases all lit. I have the same thing with Marvel Legends upstairs in my office as well. You saw in the video my office, that's where I work my day job. I got my computer in there, and then I got all my superhero stuff around that as well. So, you know, I think Matt Cardona on the podcast a couple weeks ago said, I think it might be his living room. Well, that's not my living room. That is that. And then I guess that leads to the question I get a lot of times. Kyle has his whole house filled with figures. Every inch of the house is filled with figures. And you also get, man, this guy, there's no way he has a wife and stuff. Well, you guys that watch this channel, you know I got wife and kids. They're around here. Even Matt Cardona said, I don't think he has any kids. I didn't hear any kids. Well, they were up in their room, and unfortunately, they didn't care about me and Matt Cardona. They weren't interested at all. They stayed in their room when Matt was here. And you guys have seen them on the channel in the hunts and stuff like that. But I don't have every inch of my house covered. Now, I have my office. That's my office. I work out of there. I'm in there. I'm the only one in there. So that is my little domain there. And then, of course, we got the basement. The whole basement is mine. I mean, the kids, the wife, they come to the couch when Todd and Mark aren't there, which are here watching and taking notes right now, feverishly taking notes right now. We watch TV down here as a family. My wife and I every night watch TV down here. This is kind of the hangout room. But upstairs, guess what? We got 4 other bedrooms. We got 4 bathrooms throughout the house. You got a laundry room. We got a kitchen. We got a formal dining room. We got a living room. We got a formal living room. There's a lot more space in the house. And guess what? It's not taken over by action figures. My wife rules the roost on everything else. I'm pushed down to the basement and my office primarily. You're going to see in this video, I do sneak a figure a time or two around holidays and things, but the whole house isn't full of action figures. My wife wouldn't allow that. You know, my wife is great. You see her on this videos and on this channels before. She might even allow a few here and there, but I don't want to do that. And honestly, I don't want to have every inch of my house covered. Unless it was a house just for action figures, that's one thing, but you can't have it everywhere in the house. You got to have living things that aren't, especially when normal people come over. Not calling you guys not normal, but you know what I mean. People, your grandma comes over or something. She wants to sit in a living room that looks like a normal person's living room. She doesn't want to be having to move Battle Cat out of the way to sit down on the couch or whatever it may be. But that is one of the questions I get, is your whole house full? No, it is not. It is not full of toys everywhere. It's fuller than most houses, I'm sure, but I have my spaces, I have my places, I have to go there. A Couple other questions I do get asked about. Jakks Classic Superstars room, got the hidden door there. That has been something I've wanted ever since I saw the Webster TV show as a kid. He had all these hidden passageways and doors. I was all in ever since then. Had the dream my whole life, said one day I'm going to have a secret door. When I got this house, I got that. I also have a secret door closet here that we use for storage in the basement for Christmas trees, things like that. So it's fun to have extra, instead of just a door into that room, you have extra display space. So I can put my defining moments on there. So that was pretty fun as well. But Jakks Classic Superstars room, everybody, how do you hang your Classic Superstars? I just use clear push pens, put those in the wall, put the J-hook over it, bada boom, bada bing, it's a wonderful thing, got that going on. Same thing with the 25th anniversary G.I. Joe, that's how I display those, no secret to that as well. The Hasbro stuff, I have all my WWF Hasbro figures, the retro ones. I have those all in Michael's, or it was Hobby Lobby, one or the other. It's a baseball bat display case. I put them all in there. They're off in their own little world, so that's how I do use that. People have asked about other risers outside of Small Joe's. Fairly recently, in the last year or so, they're called, I think, Break Room from Target. They are new risers. They slide apart together. They are clear and they are very heavy. I am using those for my Ultimates and my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Super 7. So you can see that in the collection. I'm picking those up at Target. I would say check your different Targets. In my area, at least, I have 2 Targets that are way cheaper on those than other Targets. So got to get a deal. Once again, every penny you save on things like that can help fund your collection, help fund your stuff. So take note of that as well. I will say, a lot of people ask me if I use like museum glue or sticky tack or whatever. I don't on any of my Elites, really anything in the basement I don't use that for. However, the Marvel Legends, I do use that on the top of my cases. I have all the MCU figures. I do use sticky tack on some of those guys that want to take dives more than others. Not everybody wants to take a dive, but we all have some of those figures that always want to take a dive. And I'm sure you're saying there, oh yeah, I got this one guy, he's always taking a dive. So I do use that for those top shelf ones, because nothing worse than a guy falling off the top shelf and breaking on you. I did have Mongor from the Super 7 Thundercats I talked about on that channel. He took a header, popped his head and arm off. It was just a travesty of justice. Just a tough time there. Another question I always do get is about the background. So in the Turtles collection, I got some backdrops, some backgrounds, but primarily in the Marvel Legends on the back of the bookcases there. I went to that backdrop guy on Instagram. Just shout him out, follow him along, reach out to him. Tell him Kyle sent you. But he did make those. You tell him the measurements you need, what you're looking for. He has a database of 1 million different things. You can work together to design something, and it'll get it printed, and you can go get it and all that, and you're off to the old races there. I did the same thing with that backdrop guy for the flooring in the Masters of the Universe table, so I got that from him as well. So reach out to that backdrop guy on Instagram if you're in need of anything like that. Trying to think, I think that is it, but primarily IKEA, of course, for the Detolfs, IKEA for the Kallax, IKEA for the Billy bookshelves. That is what I recommend, but it's your collection. You got to do it the way you want to do it there, of course. I think the couch, I believe, is from Nebraska Furniture Mart. Shout out to Warren Buffett. I think he's an owner. Todd and Mark, we all went there one day. We looked at couches. We tried them left and right, left and right. That's what the boys settled on, bright yellow couch. We'll see where that goes in the future as well. But good to have those boys over there. And I think that is it. As far as the secrets of my collection, that is it. But feel free to reach out in the comments of this very video if you have any questions about my collection, anything I might have missed in here, things like that. But of hoping you guys all enjoyed the collection tour, hoping you enjoyed collection part 2 with a little peek under the tent, a little Q&A, and even more displays. We'll see what happens in the future. Will we do this again? I guess you'll have to stay tuned for that. It could possibly happen again maybe a year from now, or maybe we'll do it just every couple of years. We'll just see what happens. But I might even do a couple of separate videos. I know some people have said, could you go through the Jakks a little bit slower? Could you go through the Elites a little bit slower? So maybe sometime this year I'll do an Elite video. Here's my Elite collection. It'll be an hour-long video going a little slower through all the shelves. We'll see. We might do that in the future as well. But I'm open to ideas. Put it in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to this channel. We got videos every single day. You guys know how it goes. 4 videos every single day. And guess what? That was another thing I get a lot of questions. Kyle must not have a job. He's got 4. I can tell you, if you want something bad enough, you'll find time for it. I have an extremely stressful and extremely busy job as a day job. 60, 70 hours a week is nothing in the industry I am in. It's what I signed up for, and it's been a very blessing of an industry, of course, to afford me this life I do have, I guess you could say. But I do put in a lot of hours. So, you know, if you ever think you can't do it, you can. There's more time in the day. What is time? I'm not sure, but I always seem to find time. And you can always find time if you want something bad enough. If you want to do something bad enough, you can find the time. And I'm all about maximizing my minutes. I'm all about multitasking, getting things done, working that way. You know, we might be going to the mall. I'll say, Angie, my wife, of course, could you drive? I have to do a little bit of editing. I have to do a little bit of this. So you can always find time if you want it bad enough. So that's one thing I'll say. I do have a job, and for a lot of people that reach out to me that say, I can't find time to do 1 video a week or whatever. Well, I'm doing 4 videos a day. So if I can find the time, I'm sure you can find the time. So just remember that. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. I don't know about that far, but you know what I'm trying to say there. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the Patreon for exclusive looks, exclusive videos, giveaways, Q&A. It all goes down on the Patreon. Truly your best way to support this YouTube channel. ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. SirPaul64 on the X. The _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and on Instagram. Now on TikTok for even more sweet dance moves. And of course, my book, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Class Superstars Series, now available on Kindle as well as hardcover at Barnes & Noble, softcover at, of course, Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. It is, of course, 700 pages. It is the complete collection. Definitely something you need in your collection. So there you go. But there it is. Collection Part 2. Until next time, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon. Midwest Professional Wrestling legend Gage Octane. Working on the tabletop. There he is. Look at him. We're working on the tabletop here. Some legendary stuff.
Now you gotta come Paul something.
Attorney is exactly. Attorney is home. Oh, we're gonna get this all cut up here. It's gonna be wild. It's getting serious. All right, got all this MDF board in the back of the Commander, the dirty Commander. Doing dirty jobs today. Doing Eternia jobs. Where did that Midwest Professional Wrestling legend Gage Octane go? Lost in the Home Depot. Lost. Hard at work on the tabletop here. Putting it together. Building it out.
I think it'll be pretty nice.
There it is. Getting there. Getting there. All right, the floor is down. Working our way through it. All right, working hard on this Masters of the Universe table right here, as you can see. But I do have all these bookshelves that line it. They're kind of the base for the table, but the beautiful thing is plenty of storage inside. So I'm storing all the packaging. You guys know I don't really keep packaging. However, there is some packaging like this Turtle Party Wagon, the NECA Turtle Van, a lot of this He-Man stuff you just don't throw away. So I'm storing it deep inside of here. All my Mondo packaging, things like that. So little extra storage underneath the table. We could all use more storage. All right, the floor is through the door. There's Ace. He's on the run. He's on the move. Ace, what do you know, buddy? What do you know, Ace? Well, we got the floor. You can see that big pole all wrapped up in there. Ready to go. Here's the power of the warrior. Oh, baby. All right, here's the floor for the He-Man room. How about that? Looking pretty cool. I got these Castle Grayskull Snake Mountain over here to hold it down. So it's got to get straightened out. Just got unrolled from a big trip. How cool is this, though? Very, very cool. Very nice terrain here. Hard to see all at once. I will be building all that. All these Origin figures will be coming out of the bookcase, freeing me up a new bookcase. And they'll all be around here with the vehicles, all kinds of stuff going on. So, going to be very, very cool. Oh, look at that. Hot delivery from IKEA. Some work to do. Got the new floors in. Time for some new cases. Just exciting times, exciting times. All right, new floors in the house. Look at that. Look at those new floors. There's the arcades. Got the arcades in there. At the air hockey. Oh, remember? Real ones remember when I got that picture. Real ones remember. Working on this room. Game room, playroom. Gonna put some cases right here. We'll see what kind of fun we can get into during the remodel project. A work in progress. Girls, you're doing a great job bringing all this in. So this is what I like to see, just teamwork. Now just put it over there around the corner. That's where it'll go. Good job, girls. Good job. All right, another little spot of the collection, temporarily at least. We're in my living room here. So this is my wife. You know, all these rooms aren't for me. My wife, my kids, they have their rooms too. I just got the basement in my office, but there's some cool stuff. Werewolf by Night, and there's a bobblehead that was made of me. But this is our living room right here. But it is Christmas time, so you better bring out the Christmas figures. Nutcracker Fortnite, got the Gremlins Christmas stuff, McFarlane Santas from last year, blue and red. Got the Misfits NECA Santa, you got Krampus, Jacob Marley, the Moose, and of course, Santa from the Mythic Legions. Beautiful stuff for Christmas. Got to be able to sneak some in there a little bit here and there. But this is my living room collection for now, for just a short 1 month. I almost forgot one of the coolest things in the collection. Power Slave Eddie, the old school NECA bust. Right there by my wife's nail polish collection. Look at that. You think I got a collection problem? Look at that. Look at this makeup corner. But I snuck this in here, and Eddie's been overlooking the bedroom ever since. He will be moving to a different location eventually, but I always chuckle that he's still kind of here hanging out. But a huge life-size bust of Eddie from Iron Maiden. Living the life. Let me just a spoiled guy. Uh-oh. Party's over.